Thank you, Kim. It's really wonderful to be here together, and I'm really appreciative of being able to give this presentation after a lot of hard work and a lot of years in the making. So it's really important for us. I also think it's not often, as Jen mentioned in her welcome speech, that we often get the time to just pause and think what is happening around us and how we prepare ourselves for the future. So this is one of the reasons that we designed this year's program with the focus of sensing the emerging future. It's trying to understand the multiplicity of futures and options and truths that are out there and how we can actually make progress. It's about us as a trade organization putting our feet into thinking about that. And we do that very often. But during the process of doing that, it felt daunting to actually go back and reflect on the systems and the tools that we provide the industry to actually make or try to make coffee better. So during COVID time, we took the initiative to actually reflect on these tools and systems. And actually, even before that, we felt that there was a paradigm shift that was about to happen. During COVID, though, it became more profound because we realized that the importance of clarity in communications and strong partnerships is something that is really important for our industry and help us solidify that vision. Jen mentioned yesterday that many times what feels like an abrupt change is like small changes that are happening over a lot period of time, but it takes time for us to really understand, they have changed the reality that we thought that we're looking at. And I think that we are in one of those times. It's also important to understand that coffee's history is full of paradigm shifts. Like we've seen shifts in consuming coffee, like coffee was consumed initially as a fruit, not roasted or as a beverage. And then there were the things that we've seen around coffee, like coffee houses during Enlightenment and what they brought into. And it wasn't until the 1800s that Clarence Bickford said, okay, instead of just trading coffee by just counting beans, maybe we need to taste this coffee before we start selling it. So the new practice back in the 1800s of cup testing, which will become cup tasting, and then cupping, was for 100 years just kept between green coffee traders. And it wasn't until the 1970s where the specialty coffee movement, the thing that brings us all here together, start shifting again a paradigm and start talking about quality and freshness in coffee. And it took until, I would say, another 10 years until 1984 before Ted Lingle codified it to the Cupper's handbook. Now, with this, that was another paradigm shift. The Coffee Cupper handbook starts to actually put together what we understand from that newly developed science of sensory into actually how we evaluate coffee and how we actually see those, I would say, sensory attributes affect our likings. It also took another, I would say, 10 to 15 years before we have the shift from that codification to what today is the SCA cupping protocol. And it's the same protocol that we have been using, I think, since 2004. And even though for us in this room, we feel that this exists forever. Like it's almost like, I would say, 18, 19 years old. It's like as old as my elder son. So it's quite new. This approach and this system, it's a viable method for discovering and cataloging valuable attributes, especially sensory attributes. But the thing and what is happening around us continue to change. The sensory science has advanced, and the industry has matured. And the amount of information that there is to know about coffee, what we want to know about coffee, has changed significantly. We've gone from knowing this to knowing this, which is much more information. And the truth is that there is not enough space on the current form to actually list all these attributes, extrinsic attributes, informational attributes, that we value today on the 2000 cupping form. And even more importantly, none of that information of how a coffee tastes or is produced or anything about why we really value or love a coffee gets reflected in that single number, the total cupping score. So let me give you a different example. It's like having a low-resolution photo of a painting and try to make it a single pixel. You cannot describe like the shades, the colors, everything, if you just look this photo as a single pixel. You need to have much more detailed information. You have to have a high-resolution photo of what you are looking at. So for the past 3 years, based on research and development and what we know and using all the information we have absorbed, what we try to do is actually try to create a project that will provide to our industry a moment where we can have a new paradigm shift. We want to take the current system and evolve it to meet the needs we have. We want to expand it to build a future that we are aspiring to. So today I'm presenting to you the new SCA Coffee Value Assessment. And it's based on valuing attributes through 4 separate assessments: the physical assessment, the descriptive assessment, the affective, and the extrinsic. This is the beta version of it. Some of those assessments have been already gone through research and development, and they're on the phase to be released, to be pressure tested by the community, and to see what is working, what is not, to figure it out. We have some time to still develop it. Some of them are still on the phase of research and development, and they need work to figure out exactly what is needed. But we as an industry can make this work together, and we can actually figure out what needs to happen. But I'm not here to actually present you the forms. I'm here to talk about mentality. It's our theory of change. And what we say is that if we say mindsets and business behavior that generate actionable knowledge that is needed to build a thriving coffee industry, then we could foster an equitably, then we could foster an equitable value distribution system and tool to make specialty coffee more thriving, equitable, and sustainable endeavor for the entire value chain. And I think this is what drives this change and why we created this tool. So let's start by taking things from the beginning. If we can measure what we value in coffee, then we can understand where, how, and when this value is generated. If we can understand where value is generated, then it's simple. We can measure how this value and where this value is captured. And if we can understand how we measure value, then we can definitely understand if it's equitably distributed or inequitably distributed. And if we see this value distribution, we have a much, much better chance of distributing that value much more equitably. That, I think, will help us build a stronger future for our industry, a more sustainable future, and it's where we want to position this new system. So I'm going to talk about a vision here of what this system can bring. Let's say it's 2030, and let's say we're a bit older and wiser, but I'm not. I'm still like younger, and let's say that I'm a producer. I'm a young producer that I stepped into like my family business, and I just went through education from my local producers association to learn how to cap. And not only how to cap, but also use a tool that can help me identify certain things. So now I have, I've learned how to cap and identify the descriptive attributes for my coffee. I know how my coffee tastes, and this is 100% objective. I know about the extrinsic attributes of my coffee, like where it's produced, how it is processed, like what certification it may have. And what I found out is that there is a tool that can connect me with the market. I have a tool that can connect me with whom in the consuming markets would appreciate those attributes, to whom I can sell that coffee, and to whom I can extract more value out of my coffee. So it's not just a score that will give me like what would be the appreciation of the coffee in terms of value. It's like a holistic system that would guide me to extract more value out of that crop. Doing so, I also recognize that through that tool, there are other professionals that can help me make more out of that tool. Like, I know my attributes and how my coffee tastes, but there are cappers out there that they have certain skills, like agronomy skills, or skills that can help me improve my processing. So I can address to go to these cappers, and that's how it connects with a white paper about capping that we released a few days ago, that I can go and bring in professionals to help me make those attributes more profound in my coffees. Let's go to 2033. This is how I start doing it. I brought in those professionals, and now because of like fertilizing or pruning techniques, I have actually put these attributes to be more profound in my coffees. I have developed relations with those buyers, and I'm having a healthy and sustainable relation where I sell my coffees. But through that tool, I realized that because of my, I would say, farming techniques, there are other markets out there that they appreciate my coffee for different kind of attributes. So I can see there are other markets where I can go and try to promote and sell my coffees. Let's role swap here. I'm a roaster, it's still 2033, and I want to go into a retail chain, a grocery chain, that they're looking specific coffees. But the suppliers that I have, they don't have those extrinsic attributes like certifications or whatever for what I'm looking. I can use that same tool to actually go back and look for coffees with specific attributes, descriptive attributes, extrinsic attributes that will help me get into that grocery chain or retail chain. So the whole idea about that long-term vision for the SCA coffee value assessment is more than a better version and a protocol and a form that you're going to see today. There are really two paradigm shifts that are happening. There is the paradigm shift of having a holistic record of what could make a coffee viable to someone somewhere. But there is also a paradigm shift of taking all this information and creating a high-resolution picture that the protocol and the forms are capturing, and leveraging them through creating a global database that we can access all in order to make trade much more easier. Now, this will address the information asymmetry that we have in our industry. We know that the volatility we have in pricing and how our industry has been reacting over these 4 years is like the lack of information, and that is what has generated the gap between price makers and price takers. If we are able to disseminate information freely and everyone has access to it, that will bridge that gap of information asymmetry we have. And that is not only for producers or roasters. It's for buyers, it's for roasters and retailers, it's for producers' organizations. Like we can see, for example, traders trying through that to add value to their customers by understanding like what they want from both sides and how they can create a bit more value from themselves. For roasters and retailers that want to expand to different markets, they can actually go and use that tool to understand what is the consumers want, what the consumers want in that market. So we are creating, by using cappers and capping, a consumer mapping and a consumer preference mapping system that can help both sides of the value chain. So the idea is that we want to build a future that we can aspire to. I want to be clear on one thing that has been very important for us since the beginning of developing that tool. There is the SCA commitment that we're going to make this system methodology accessible to farmers, producers, processors, producing organizations all over the world. And this is for us a strong commitment because we want this to be a tool for everyone. So today, we're officially releasing the beta form of the coffee value assessment system. This includes a beta version of the new assessment system protocol, where it includes of 3 forms. The descriptive form, which you describe what you taste in coffee, and that can be 100% objective. The affective form, which describes how much you like a coffee, and this is subjective, but I'll let Kim and the rest talk to you about this on the seminars that you can follow. And then on an alpha version, we're presenting the extrinsic assessment form, and we're going to use a larger user study as we're launching this later this year. With this QR code, you can go to the value assessment page and include a link to the beta. It's a paper around 60 pages that you can read and you can download. And there will be many opportunities during Recon Expo to learn about the assessment, to try it yourselves, and help us get to develop it. If you'd like to participate to cupping room, lectures, workshops, you can scan this QR code, which will get you to a schedule overview of what is happening during Expo and Rico and how you can engage. Finally, in order to achieve this vision, we need your support. We need your support as we're releasing a beta version. So this is still on development. We need to understand what is working, what is not working, what we need to improve. And we are inviting everyone to help us by becoming an early adopter. There are multiple ways of engaging. We're going to be having ways for companies and individuals to interact with that. We might be asking for some patrons to help us fund extra research for some of the alpha phase versions. So if you want to learn about how you can participate either as an individual or a company and register your interest as an early adopter, you can scan this QR code. It's open to everyone. So again, I want to thank you for taking the time, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you on developing this tool even further. Thank you so much.